Hey guys, it's Cayley. I am back with another What Sold From Last Week video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my sales. Once again, it's something that I do weekly if you guys are new here, and it helps me to keep track of what buyers are actually looking for on eBay and Poshmark, as well as whatever I do in my own stores, how it affects my sales. And so I like keeping track of this, and you guys like when I share it with you so that you can also learn some new bolo brands, also bolo styles. So let's dive right into the sales. All right, so first of all, I had another somewhat slower sales week. Just a reminder, I have significantly reduced the amount that I am listing compared to last year. Even with the reduction of listings, I still feel like sales are going pretty good. Things are pretty steady, and we'll see how different changes I make affect things. I've got some fun experiments coming up and just kind of using my store as a test store for different experiments. And so we'll see how different things that I do and tweak affect sales week to week or month to month. In total last week, decent sales week. Again, we're in the middle of summer slowdown, plus I've reduced listings, but sold a decent amount. Sold 112 items last week between eBay and Poshmark. Those are my two main platforms. However, again, I am on some other ones. We recently just partnered with Depop and Resellers Edge, which is the mentorship group I just mentioned. And so I'm doing a lot more listings in Depop to just fully understand the platform. And I'm also making a decent amount of sales over there. Plus, we are also doing 1 to 2 shows a week on Whatnot. And honestly, that's been a great revenue stream as well. So there are $1,000 to sometimes $2,000 worth of sales that are not accounted for from eBay and Poshmark. So let me know down below in the comments. Some of you guys have asked for it. Do you want me to start doing videos about Whatnot, about Depop, what is selling on there? We can keep it separate from this normal one, or we can include it. So I'm kind of open to all things. Let me know down in the comments. So last week I sold 90 items on eBay, 22 on Poshmark. I'm still not cross-posting over to Poshmark quite yet. So the fact that I had a little over $500 in sales over there is great, considering I'm not doing much except letting my Posher VA just, have its scheduled shares and sending out offers, which is great. My average sale price on eBay was $31 versus Poshmark. My average sale price was much lower at $25. And combined, I was right about the $30 mark for average sale price across everything, with my gross item sales being around $3,400. Again, pretty happy with that considering dropping the amount that I'm listing and reducing, Poshmark sales. There's a lot going on, but I'm happy with the sales that we do have. So let's dive in here. I did sell quite a bit of items despite all of that, and so I do have quite a bit to show you guys today. High sell-through rate bolos. We've got some pretty surprising sales. You'll see a theme as we get into it, as well as some different styles that I wanted to teach you guys. So the first one was one of my favorite sales. I love selling men's stuff. Honestly, if I could find as much men's stuff as I find women's, I would do nothing but men's. I did nothing but men's for a long time, and I just kind of accepted the fact that my situation is I have access to a lot of women's clothing, not as much men's. And so at the level that I was last year, where I was doing, 10K per week gross, sometimes more than that, I needed a lot of inventory. So I couldn't just do men's, but I would love it. I love men's stuff. It sells so well, and I do have a passion for vintage t-shirts. They are so much fun to find. I could totally be a t-shirt bro if I could, find as much of it. Joe actually was sourcing with me, and he also loves vintage t-shirts, and he actually found this for me. I could not find any comps on this. It's very, very difficult to find. So I had a more unique one, and this is a vintage Marvel Comics Fantastic Four shirt. Now, Fantastic Four just remade the movie, so there's a little bit more attention on, this series than there normally is, and I think that aided in my sale and getting it to sell quickly. So this is a Y2K shirt, is from 2006, as you can see here. And I think oftentimes if you're not seeing like single stitch or dating right on the graphic, it often gets passed over, but there are tons of Y2K t-shirts that also sell for a ton, and they have the normal double stitch, and they just kind of get passed over. But Marvel Comics is something, in comics in general, not just Marvel. If I see that it looks a little bit older, I do a little bit more research into it. So this is an example of one of them. And honestly, really cool shirt. I priced high, like I said, did not have much information to go off of, and I sent out offers to watchers. This ended up selling actually exactly a month. No, 2 months, exactly 2 months of being listed. I got June and July mixed up. Exactly 2 months after being listed on May 5th, sold on July 5th on an offer to watcher, which I send out every single day, multiple times, 15% off of my items for anybody that's watching. And so it sold on one of those offers for $85. I paid $5. A vintage t-shirt to, especially a niche one like this where there's not like a whole lot of info, to sell in 2 months is actually really quick. So maybe I underpriced it, but pretty happy with that sale. I would rather have a quick sale than wait on a full price offer. So 85 bucks, could not be happier. Keep your eye out not only for vintage shirts, but also vintage Y2K. And before you know it, some of the Y2K and like 2010 stuff is going to be vintage and some of it can be valuable. So just keep your eye out for that. Next up, this is a new brand to me. It is called Sonora. I only looked at it because when I was thrifting, one of my strategies for shoes is I try to like eliminate everything out of my mind besides what I'm actually looking for. And that's how I'm able to move through a thrift store so quickly. A lot of you guys, question that. Trying to get through a thrift store within 30 to 40 minutes is my goal, the entire thing. And I do that by eliminating and only looking for factors, brands, things that I know are going to sell. And one of those things for shoes is high quality leather. And I know that distressed looking leather like this, especially when it feels like high quality leather, is an indicator that it's probably a brand that I want to at least look up. So I had never heard of this brand before. Like I said, it's called Sonora. I'm going to see if we have... There we go. We have a small picture of the inside. It's kind of hard to see, but you can tell it's very thick leather. Almost gives like Freebird by Steven vibes or Bed Stew. And so for that reason, I wanted to look them up. Did a little bit of digging. There isn't a 100% sell-through rate for this brand, but the style had a decent enough sell-through rate that I thought about getting them. Plus the style was really good. I took a risk. I actually paid up for these at $15 and I listed them for $65. They sold for my full asking price of $65 within May, June, July, about 2.5 months. I'm struggling with the dates today. About 2.5 months. So 15 into 65. So that's a brand I'm going to keep my eye out for in general. And this style right here, this like distressed looking leather, kind of leans Western, kind of leans like rockabilly. Those are the kind of things that people are looking for right now in shoes. So definitely keep your eye out for those. And harness on leather boots for men always add a lot of value for me. The harness being this like leather detail with the ring around it right here. And so if you do have something with that, make sure to include harness because it can increase your value and your sell-through rate. All right, this one needs no introduction. This is Burberry, which is definitely a brand you want to look for. Even though I know most of you have probably heard of Burberry and you know that it's popular, I like bringing up things that you might be overlooking. So if you're like me and you're browsing through the aisles and you're not looking at every single brand tag, which I actually recommend you don't do, then if you're not paying attention, you can pass on stuff like this. So this pretty plain wool plaid skirt could just looking at it, could be made by like Jones, New York, Talbots, right? It could be made by anybody. And so you really got to have that eye to notice when things look a little bit thicker, a little bit more higher quality, and made to look, it just looks, you can tell that it's made a little bit more higher quality. So I like showing you guys stuff in this video that I think you might overlook. And that's one of the things that we teach in Reseller's Edge. We actually have a whole call about indicators of quality. So how to identify something without looking at the brand and knowing that it might be good. So we really focus on that. And it is a skill as a reseller that is just, it's so valuable. It's going to get you through the thrift store so much quicker. So I like showing you guys stuff like this because this is a pure example of something you could be walking right by. I, however, did get this in wholesale, so somebody shipped it to me. They found it. I paid $10 for this in wholesale. I listed it for $100. We also use some really great keywords like plaid, academia, old money, mini, and then preppy and office. And this ended up selling for our full asking price of $100. This one did take a couple of months to sell for full asking price. Next up, this is another piece that I think would be easy to overlook. This is the brand Johnny Was. I definitely think we all know what Johnny Was is. They have some different lines. This one is Johnny Was Workshop. But when I think of Johnny Was, I think of bright multicolor. I think of heavy embroidery. I don't think of something like this from where a distance. Again, I could see this being like a Target brand, right? This could be a New Day. This could be, what's the other ones? Like a Kohl's brand. So if you're not paying attention, you could definitely miss this because it's just a printed jumpsuit. It has tassels that, in my opinion, look about like everything else. And so you want to know what different brands put out that you could potentially be passing on. If you want your mind kind of blown, you should go on to, I don't know, think of like some of the most popular brands that you're looking for right now. Let's say Aviator Nation. Sometimes, occasionally, I'll go on to these websites like Aviator Nation and I'll just browse and go, okay, what are they putting out? And I'm usually shocked at some of the pieces that I'm like, I would walk right by that because like I'm just not looking for it. It's not what I think of when I think of these brands. Vuori did that the other day. Was completely shocked. Frank and Eileen, for a long time, thought they only made shirts. So they make a lot of stuff. So it's good to get on the actual brand websites is what I'm trying to say and learn what the outliers could be because maybe you have this idea in your mind and you're seeing a brand through a lens and you could be wrong and you could be missing out on a lot of stuff. So this would be an example of that where if I wasn't paying attention, we might miss this. So this is Johnny Was Workshop. We paid up for this because it's a Johnny Was substantial piece. I paid $20. We did use some great keywords with it. Coachella is a great keyword for this one. And we listed it for $75. It did sell for a full asking price of $75. This one also took a couple of months to sell. All right, next up, this is Polo by Ralph Lauren. This item took a little over a month to sell. Any kind of Ralph Lauren piece, especially in the men's department, that is a more substantial piece like outerwear or maybe it's a sweater or something like that, always worth looking into. This is one of my best-selling brands, and a lot of their lines sell well, particularly in the men's department. You got to know what you're looking for. Not everything does, but I'll show you a couple things today that do. So outerwear is definitely one I would look for specifically in the men's department. This is a Polo by Ralph Lauren men's fleece line jacket. I listed this high at $75. I only paid $7. And it did sell for my full asking price. And again, sold. No, I messed it up again. There's going to be a theme of this video. I can't count months today for some reason. It took 3 months to sell, not a month, 3 months. So I need some coffee. But good, quick, full price sale. Quick to me is within 90 days. That's my goal. Within 3 months. If not, we're dropping the price and getting it moving. So keep your eye out for Ralph Lauren outerwear as well as other substantial pieces, especially in the men's department. All right, next up, this is another brand that I really love looking for. It is Sundance. Not all of their pieces sell. I try to stick to substantial things, and I also feel like depending on the piece, you got to use the right keywords to get to the right buyer to elevate that price and sell-through rate for you. So this is what I would consider a more substantial piece. I do pretty well with their pants. This is a denim pair of cargo joggers, very specific style that was performing well. I paid $5, listed at $45. It did sell for our full asking price, and this one took about a month and a half to sell. Next up, this is a brand that has a high sell-through rate in just about anything. It is Packed. I've talked about this brand before. There are a couple other brands that very similar to this that also have very high sell-through rates. So sustainability and things made out of natural fibers right now, very, very trendy, higher sell-through rates. And if you can really touch on that in your listing, it will sell faster. So for instance, in this, not only did we put packed, but we included the word organic because it's made out of organic cotton. We also use the keyword sustainable. So heavily leaning into that customer will get your items to sell faster. Not just this customer, but every customer that you have. If you look at an item individually and you can say, this is this is the customer for this, you want to heavily lean into that with your keywords, specifically in your title, because they have the biggest impact. So even though this was an extra small, it was a dress, which is one of their best-selling categories for me, impact. But like I said, just about anything is going to sell well in this brand, just maybe not for as much. We picked this up at the bin, so we probably paid $2 to $3 for it, listed it for $50. It sold on an offer to watcher, which again is my 15% off blanket offer that I send out every single day. And it sold for around $42. This one took about a month to sell, a little less. All right, here are some surprising sales for you. I've got a couple of these sprinkled in. For some reason, Christmas stuff was selling crazy for me. I kind of talked about this in the group a little bit, and everybody's like, it's got to be Christmas in July, right? So it must be, because we sold a ton of Christmas stuff last week. I'm only showing you a few pieces in some brands you might want to start looking for, because you guys laugh at me. I actually got some comments recently that were literally laughing at me, saying that fall is around the corner. But what I mean is that buyers, right, like very, very soon, before you're going to realize it, are going to move to fall stuff, and you're going to be left picking up summer stuff if you don't know what you're doing. And so fall for buyers is right around the corner, and they are about to flip over into fall stuff. And when you start moving into fall and the holidays, when your buyers start moving that way, novelty stuff sells around the holidays and when people are planning for holidays months ahead of the season. So this is a brand I would definitely look for in novelty sweaters. It's called Eagle's Eye, and some of them sell, better than others. This one is a really nice Christmas sweater, and honestly, I would have priced it for much more, except that we listed this in March. And because we listed it in March and it's very out of season, we priced competitively to ensure that it moves. And it worked because it sold within a few months for full asking price of $35. When you are in holiday season, or when buyers are purchasing holiday stuff, even if you're not in the season, you will likely be able to sell these for $50 and up pre-owned for stuff like this. So keep your eye out for Eagle's Eye, as well as just vintage novelty sweaters in general. As I always say, they got to have that it factor to them. They can't look like anything that you can find everywhere. They've got to have something unique going for them, and feel a little bit more substantial. So this one sold for full asking price of $35. And like I said, this one did take a few months to sell. Next up, here is another Eagle's Eye. We listed this lower just because it was shorter sleeve. This is a Texas Western Americana type of novelty sweater. Super cute. Paid $5 for this. This one actually we listed at the end of June, and again, price to account for the seasonality, and listed this at $40. This ended up selling on an offer to watcher for $34. So I guess $35 is where Eagle's Eye novelty sweaters are at right now. This one actually sold the same day that we listed it. Next up, this is a bolo brand to look for. It's called, I think it's Waymaker or Wawmaker, W-A-H Maker, and they make Western type stuff. I don't know if it's vintage or if it is modern acting like vintage, if that makes sense, but this brand has a decent sell-through rate, and a lot of their stuff is overlooked because it looks so plain, like this one. So listed this for $45. I do believe it's an actual vintage brand. And it sold on an offer to watcher for $38. We paid $10. This one did take a couple of weeks to sell. Again, this brand has a pretty decent sell-through rate in just about anything, so definitely keep your eye out for that. Next up, this is another Polo Ralph Lauren item. I definitely pick up hardly any of their polos, but one thing I do know that sells in their polos are prints as well as larger sizes. So this one had both, which is the reason that I looked it up, and I kind of factor stacked it and made sure to include the factors in my comps, and saw that with those factors had a great sell-through rate. So I know a lot of you guys have said you're struggling with pricing a little bit. I would definitely recommend to just make sure you're including factors that you know could increase or decrease value, and that's going to really help you narrow down your search results. So this one is a Polo Ralph Lauren golf polo. It's printed. It's a 3XB, which is a much larger size, and because of that had a greater sell-through rate and ASP. Because if you look up Polo Ralph Lauren men's polos. They're going for like $15 to $25 usually on average. I listed mine for $40. I actually paid $8.99 for this because I was very confident in it. And this one actually sold within about 3 weeks of being listed. All right, next up, this is another bins item that we picked up. This is Lululemon. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm very picky with Lululemon now, but their stuff that is actual pants, not leggings, but pants generally performs well. Specifically this style, this is called their Dance Studio pant. This one is an older Dance Studio pant, but nonetheless a great seller. So paid a couple bucks for this at the bins, listed for $40, and it sold for full asking price of $40. This one took a couple of months to sell. Next up, this is another one that has a surprisingly good sell-through rate, and I've always had great luck with it. It is April Cornell. Specifically, their dresses, their vintage dresses perform very well. This one I was like back and forth with when I came across it because it is a mini dress, which I am not used to finding in April Cornell. I usually find longer length dresses, which I do know sell. So I had to do a little bit of digging, doing that factor stacking like we talked about earlier, and making sure to include that in my search. And all in all, I saw a decent sell-through rate. This was also a size extra large, which helped. But April Cornell dresses in general, pretty decent brand to rely on when it comes to dresses. I felt like this was a little outside of their wheelhouse. Maybe it's a bit more modern than some of the other ones I've come across. Let me know if you guys sell April Cornell. Does this look like a piece that they normally do? Because to me it does not. But I ended up getting it, paid a couple bucks at the bins, listed for $40, sold on an offer to watcher for $34. And this one took 3 weeks to sell, so pretty quick turnaround on that. All right, next up is a pair of Theory men's pants slash jeans. Theory is not a brand I pick up hardly at all anymore. Theory and what's the other one? Vince. Theory and Vince to me are like the same brand. And I hardly pick up anything in those brands anymore, but when it comes to men's stuff in both of those brands, I generally get it because the sell-through rate is a lot higher. So these are a pair of Theory men's Hayden slim fit straight pants. Listed these for $35. They sold on an offer to watcher for $30. I paid $5, and these ones only took about a week to sell, so super quick flip. And I was really mindful with pricing on these because of the sell-through rate. Next up, swimsuits are very trendy right now. If you are struggling with summer sales, you probably need to shift into the things that people are actually buying right this second, which are very hot weather items. This is Miracle Suit. It is one of my favorite brands to get in swimsuits. It's actually one of the very few swimsuit brands that I will still get. It does better in larger sizes, much, much better for sell-through rate and pricing, but we found this one new with tags. And so because of that, even though it was a size 6, we felt like the new tags brought it back up to where we needed to be. Listed this for $35. It sold on an offer for $28, and we paid $6. And this one took March, April, May, June, about a month to sell. I don't know why. I cannot calculate time today. So it took about a month to sell. And I have another one similar to this that I'll show you here in just a moment. But Miracle Suit, definitely a good one. Again, especially if you can find them in the larger sizes, like plus sizes, usually get about $50 for those pre-owned. All right, next up, I do have quite a few style-based Y2K things that sold last week. Oh, also, I didn't include it in this video. I don't think I even included any of the pieces, but we sold a bundle to a costume set for a very, very popular TV show, which was really cool. None of the pieces were things that I would consider like major bolos. It was all like vintage career, not all of it was vintage, but like more mature career stuff. Huge bundle. It was like over $300, but that was really cool. So lots of cool stuff happening this past week. This one did not sell in that bundle. Like I said, I don't think I included any of those. But this is a Y2K piece, which Y2K is one of my best-selling style aesthetics. I got it nailed down, and that is what's trending right now. So if you're struggling with style-based stuff, you're probably just not sourcing within the right categories. You're probably trying to do style-based sourcing in categories that aren't trending. So keep that in mind. Aesthetics categories that aren't trending, Y2K dresses and tops are definitely a top trending category, as you've probably seen in these what sold videos week to week. So this is American Eagle, mall brands, and Y2K stuff can perform well. You got to have the right styles. This one was a shorter length dress, listed it for $40. And this one sold on an offer for 28. Somebody messaged us and asked if we would sell it for 28, and I said sure. I thought it was close enough. I'd rather sell it quickly. And this one sold within about a month of being listed for that $28 mark. And I know there's a lot of you that are passing up on stuff like this. Definitely study the Y2K aesthetic, figure out what's trending. If you want to do it yourself, you can go to the solds, search Y2K dress, Y2K top, whatever you want, and just study those solds for those things. Figure out which ones are selling for more, what they all have in common, and that's how you can take off with style-based sourcing. If you don't want to do it yourself and you'd like me to just give you the information, I can definitely teach you. We have 4 coaches in Resellers Edge. If you do the pro membership, there's already hundreds of videos, a lot of which are style-based stuff. You'll be up to date in just a week or two. And we can definitely help you work through that. But please, I urge you guys, if you're going to do it yourself, get started now, because style-based is taking over. Is definitely taking over. All right, another style-based / factor stacking piece. I love selling Old Navy dresses. If you guys have been here for any amount of time, you already know, so I'm not gonna dig into it, but pick this one up at the bins, listed it for 30, put a bunch of keywords in it, and it sold for our full asking price of $30. We probably paid $2. This one only took about a week to sell. And then oddly enough, look at this dress right now, clicking out of it. This dress, which is different but almost the same, also sold this past week, which I thought was so funny. So these nautical style dresses in Old Navy, longer length, definitely something to keep your eye out for. This one I listed for 35. It sold on an offer for 27. And this one took about 3 weeks to sell. So both really quick flips. And yeah, it's just crazy that you can sell Old Navy for this much, but you've got to know what you're looking for. You can't just list all Old Navy. It's only certain stuff. These longer length dresses in specific styles can perform well. And obviously the nautical ones do, because we sold 2 of them last week. All right, another bins pickup. This is not a brand I would memorize. This is just a Y2K style skirt, definitely style based. Keywords fairy, Y2K probably are 2 top hitting keywords for this one that sold it. So paid $1 or $2 for this, listed for 30, sold for full asking price of 30. And this one only took about a week to sell. So that is the power of style-based sourcing. If you know what you're doing, you can come across so much stuff that sometimes honestly sells for more than the Bolo brands. Next up, another style-based piece. This is a vintage Y2K dress by the brand Speechless. This one was a bit risky. It definitely does not scream any particular aesthetic to me. And so for that reason, I think it sat longer than it probably should have. We ended up price dropping this one and it sold for $25. Still something you're probably coming across at the bins. And so this is what I would call a risky pickup, because it just doesn't contain all of the factors that you need. Next up, this is a brand that has had a huge resurgence in popularity. It is Aloe Yoga. And so a lot of the stuff that I didn't used to pick up, if I find it in Aloe now, I am picking up. This is a long sleeve mock neck top. Got this at the bins, listed for $25 and sold for our full asking price of $25. This one took less than a week to sell. Keep your eye out for Aloe Yoga stuff right now. Next up, Patagonia shorts in the men's department specifically. Very high sell-through rate right now. Not going to have a high sell-through rate throughout the entire year, but during summer, men's Patagonia shorts doing very well. These are their baggy shorts, which one of their most popular. They're also a size large in a neutral color. So all of that elevating sell-through rate and price. Pick this up from the bin, so a couple bucks, listed for 30, sold for 30, and they sold the exact same day that we got them listed. Next up, this is another miracle suit. So I thought this was interesting. So this is actually the brand Talbot's, but if you go onto the Talbot's website, they actually have a miracle suit line. So I'm not sure if it's like a collaboration with the brand Miracle Suit, or if Miracle Suit is just like a trademark term for like a slimming type of bathing suit. I don't know. But I just wanted you to know if you're seeing miracle suit, it is not plugging in keywords that shouldn't be there. This is what it is called by Talbots. So if you see any kind of swimsuit that kind of looks like a miracle suit, it might be worth looking up because people are looking for these one pieces that look very slimming. This one was also a size 6. I listed it for 35. Somebody sent a message and asked if we would take 25, and I said sure, and we got it out the door. So they can be super quick flips and stuff a lot of people would pass up. This one took a couple of months to sell. Also in the swim department, something that is very trendy right now are rash guards. Again, not something that's going to sell well all year, but right now has a high sell-through rate. Pick this up at the bins. This is a Land's End rash guard. In general, Land's End rash guards in any size perform very well. They just don't generally sell for very much. So you can probably get about $20, $25 for pre-owned ones in smaller sizes. You're pushing it to get to 25. It's more about 20. But when you have the larger sizes paired, you can usually get 25 to 30. So this one is a Land's End rash guard size 3X, and we included some keywords like UPF and things like that. Listed for 30. This one sold on an offer to watcher for $25, and this one took about 3 weeks to sell, which is really quick for Land's End. I come across these all the time, especially at the bins. So if you're seeing anything that looks like that scuba nylon feel, it's multicolored, it's a shirt, it's a rash guard, and it's probably worth looking up. There are other brands besides Land's End and rash guards that can perform well right now. But again, you want to get them listed quickly because the window to sell them is about to close. All right, I also had some plus size stuff sell. Actually, I had a lot of plus size stuff sell, but I'm just going to show you a couple today because I think it's just interesting how overlooked some of these things can be. So this is Croft and Barrow 3X. You're looking at this top, you're probably thinking, I walk by stuff like this all the time. So definitely study similarly to you would the Y2K aesthetic. Look up plus size stuff because there's a lot of stuff that you're walking right by that can sell well. And this is like bread and butter for my store. I call them padding sales. They really help to beef up sales and keep things running smoothly and pay the bills. Listed this for $25. It sold for a full asking price of $25. This one took about 3 weeks, actually 2 weeks to sell. Next up, this is a Catherine's top. This is a larger size 5X. And it is obviously a more substantial piece. Listed for $25, sold for full asking price of $25. This one also took about 2 weeks to sell. This one's more bread and butter, but it is worth noting. Gymshark was a brand that I just kind of gave up on for a while, but when I did an athletic wear men's and women's deep dive for Reseller's Edge, I realized that Gymshark men's stuff had a decent sell-through rate depending on what it is. So now I'm picking up men's Gymshark stuff, but it doesn't sell for a lot. So that's something to keep in mind. We picked these up at the bins, probably cost $1, super lightweight, listed for 20, sold for 20, and these sold within just a week of being listed. Next up, probably my favorite sale just because it's a fast fashion brand, Romwe, right? Not something you would generally want to pick up, but great style on this. It had lots of great details for that Y2K whimsy goth aesthetic, and so for that reason, we got it at the bins. Again, probably paid $1, super lightweight for these tank tops. Listed for $25, sold on an offer to watcher for $21. This one took a couple of months to sell. This was another plus size item. This one took slightly longer to sell than I would have liked, a few months. It is Chaps size 2X, rainbow striped. Originally listed, I think, closer to like 27. We dropped the price. It sold for our dropped price of around $24. All right, this is another style-based one before we move into the Poshmark stuff. This is just J. Crew, very picky with J. Crew, but this was a great style-based piece. This one took just a couple of weeks to sell. That's awesome. I paid $4.50 for it, so tank tops and tops in general is something I feel like I've got down style-based, which is great because tank tops are generally priced lower or they're lighter weight at the bins, so I can pick them up all the time, and it's generally something other resellers leave behind. So I really love picking up tops, tank tops, and short sleeve tops now, which is not something I did in the past. And it's great because it's all left there for me. So this is a great style-based piece. It's got a lot of things going for it. The main one being that it is very, very trendy on its silhouette. So if you want to memorize this silhouette right there and all of the factors associated with this top, plug them into another brand, pick that up at the bins, use the same keywords, you will likely have a sale because it is very, very trendy, this silhouette right here. Listed this for $25. It sold for full asking price of $25, and this one also only took a couple of weeks to sell. All right, moving on to some of our Poshmark sales. Like I said, didn't have a lot, but pulled a few free today. This is plus size for me. It is Torrid. I am very picky with Torrid. Most of the stuff I don't get. There's only a few things I get now, but Nuba tags is something that I heavily weigh. So people are looking for Nuba tags Torrid stuff. So this is a size 2X button up top, Nuba tags listed for $40, sold on an offer to watcher for $34. Next up, another Old Navy dress. This one is, again, longer length. This one's a larger size. Polka dots are very trendy right now. The silhouette was great. Listed for $35, sold on an offer to watcher for $29. Both this sale and the last one you just saw happened because Posher VA that I mentioned before is a tool I use to share stuff automatically. I also use it to send out offers to watchers 5 minutes after an item has been liked. So if somebody hits that heart like button, 5 minutes later, they're going to receive a 15% off, or sometimes 20%, depends on how I'm feeling for the month. And like these sales are happening automatically without me having to do it. And as we all know, there's a ton to do on Poshmark. Tools are great for reasons like this, and they can help you get to your customer and incentivize them a lot faster than you would otherwise be able to. So both this sale and the last one would be an example of where that happened using those automatic offers. So this one sold for $29. Next up, this is another kind of factor stacking piece. Angie and Umgee are brands that I kind of consider the same. They kind of along the same level. And in larger sizes, in good style-based pickups, they do generally sell for $20 to $30, but you got to keyword the crap out of it. This one sold on an offer for $25, which I accepted. It is a size large dress. Next up, Merrell outdoorsy shoes, very trendy right now. This is a pair of women's, very specific pair of shoes. Find a lot of Merrell where I live. These ones sold on an offer for $40. This is Athleta, very similar to Lululemon, not picking up a lot of it anymore. Got to be very specific, but skirts in general are very trendy. And so I looked this up because of that. And it sold really well. This is another automatic offer to watcher that sold. It had this listed for $35. Posher VA sent out $29, which the buyer accepted. Another Old Navy dress, size extra large, longer length. We got some great keywords, just very on trend and on style. I actually had this one listed pretty high at $45. Somebody sent me an offer for $32, and I went ahead and accepted to just move the item. But I sell a lot of these Old Navy dresses, you guys, and shockingly, some of them sell for between $40 and $50. Otherwise $25 to $40, but nonetheless great for pre-owned Old Navy, and again really helps to pad those sales for me. Here's another Torrid piece. I strictly pulled this because it's another Christmas item. Had a lot of those. So 2X up to snow good skull shirts. In general, Torrid with skull or goth type looking things do perform well for me, so that was kind of a combo factor stacking with it being the like Christmas in July graphic 2X, but also has a skull on it, and this sold on an offer for $25. Next up, this is Anthropologie. I still like looking for Anthropologie stuff. I just try to stick to their more substantial pieces or their larger sizes is kind of how I'm going about it. This is a longer length maxi skirts. It was called the Magda embroidered skirt, and it ended up selling for $42 despite the fact that it was a size extra small. So I was pretty happy with that sale. And lastly, I also love selling Talbot's plus size pieces. Specifically, this one has a very like old money look to it, which is a very trendy aesthetic also right now. It's kind of a micro trend, so I don't know how long it'll be going around, but while while the getting's good, I'm doing it, you know? So Talbot's 2X cardigan fitting into a great aesthetic, listed around 35, sold on an offer for 28, which I accepted. All right, you guys, so that is it for what sold last week. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe down below. And if you hit that notification bell, you'll be notified every single time I make these what sold videos. I do make them weekly, so if you want to be notified, make sure to click that bell. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Let me know how your sales are going for you down below. Are you still selling summer stuff? Are you starting to sell more wintry stuff? Let me know down in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!